Bene, buongiorno a tutti.
Well, good morning, everybody. Daniele Novello from GFK. Thank you so much for being with us. Thanks a lot to Mido for the invitation. At last, after some years, we are in full presence. We as professionals are getting accustomed. We'll see how consumers will behave and are behaving and embracing digital solutions. I'll speak about eyewear e-commerce in Europe. Then we'll expand our vision, not just focusing on e-commerce, but also analyzing purchasing path and the digital, how the digital is integrated with the physical channel. 4 countries, Italy, France, Germany, UK, and for our analysis, we have a wide sample, 4,000 interviews. Recent purchasers, recent buyers that bought eyewear in the last 12 months, sunglasses, prescription glasses, and we collected such information in March, middle of March. And in our reflections, in the reflections made by consumers, the war is already present, and also the theme of big growth in prices that has an impact on the desires of purchase of consumers. That's the path we'll follow together. Just like I told you, we'll expand our vision. We won't just focus on e-commerce, but in more general terms, we'll analyze a purchasing pattern, starting with the info journey, collection of information by consumers, then the last mile, the moment of purchase, the channels, and then an in-depth analysis of the expectations and needs of e-shoppers, those buying online end-to-end, some ideas about the peculiarities of the individual countries considered in the study. But before doing all of this, basic assumption, not derived from the interviews carried out specifically for this event, but a piece of information from the data of GFK, putting together various studies carried out to understand how consumers are evolving, the expectations of consumers are evolving. And this is some sort of framework for the results we have collected for you, results in line with this premise about the evolution of consumers. I do realize this slide is a bit conceptual, but I will explain it in a simple way. You have an important message. In moments of difficulties, in moments of crisis, consumers tell us that they know they should be good. They should care about sustainability. However, it's not the moment to be good. And what happened instead with COVID, it was a weakening of this trade-off. And on the one hand, on the left-hand side of the table, you see it. Consumers, and even more so with COVID, they pay attention to value for money. And where you see +4 COVID impact, and how did we calculate it? This research is Consumer Live. It's an instrument of GFK, and it maps styles of consumers. And we carried out research just before COVID outbreak. And so we compared the responses of those interviewed before and after COVID. In the space of very few weeks, very few days, there was an additional growth of the importance of value for money on the left-hand side of the table. On the right-hand side of the table, you have something even more important and surprising, because on those same days, consumers and even more than before, they tell us that it's important for them to choose those brands and products aligned with their values and expectations. And just like I told you, it's a weakening of the trade-off. And in the background, you have the neo-pragmatic consumer, a consumer with a neo-pragmatic approach, including value for money and consciousness. Attention, for example, devoted to sustainability. And the consumer has another interesting feature. The consumer is more open to innovation for a set of reasons, psychological, anthropological reasons, and in the case of COVID, it's an unprecedented change, and consumers were not accustomed to such radical changes, and some way or another, consumers had to rethink about adaptation strategies. Then you have other aspects that led us to explore our purchases, new routines, new habits, and what it means in terms of purchases. For example, working from home. And we have a panel where tens of thousands of people scan the barcodes of what they put into their shopping cart. We discovered from COVID onwards that we started putting into our shopping carts things we didn't put before, buying different products, buying more products, and this is explanatory of a consumer that tend to explore more. This is taken from the research carried out for you specifically, and it has to do with the eyewear world. We performed an analysis as a proxy of a mainstream solution. We chose full frames, squared, and plastics. In terms of features of a product, that's how we have organized our analysis. We have discovered that if we compare what consumers bought last time and what consumers want to buy next time, in all cases, you see, you have a drive toward a higher degree of exploration, less intention to buy plastic full-frame products. We know that this attitude of exploration will be hardly translated into non-mainstream products, but we can think about it. What can one of the constraints be? You can have a distribution constraint. Somebody wants to buy a specific product, that consumer goes to a store, and perhaps the item is too expensive. The consumer doesn't find what they wanted to buy, and the shop assistant proposes something mainstream, and the consumer buys it. However, this is an attitude of exploration. Here, you have data not collected in the eyewear world, just like I told you. We have details in very few minutes. Let's go to the consumer in general terms. Here you have data collected starting from hundreds of thousands of interviews. It's a research JFK solution that maps a purchase journey in tech durables. And what does it measure? Here you see, progressively, you have a longer time devoted to the choice of a product. When you say, for example, I need a TV, and the moment you buy it, you have more time than some time ago. And with the progression of the growth of the time we devote, it's a strong sign, just like you see on the right-hand side of the table. And you have a counterintuitive indicator today before than COVID. When you are in a store, you take more time to choose a product, despite the in-store experience has been decreased, for example, for the fact of wearing masks. And for us, choosing the right product involves more time spent collecting information, and product features are considered amongst the most important drivers during a purchase by two-thirds of consumers. And this percentage hasn't decreased compared to what we read when prices were lower. It's a sign that, in a way, consumers don't want to compromise the quality of a product. We want quality products, and we want to be sure that the features of that product meets our needs. And our needs are more diversified also as a result of changing routines. And I'd like to show you 9 key trends. 9 key trends we have identified amongst the various needs of consumers, starting from this global research. It's 9 global key trends of consumers. And here I show you data for 4 countries, Italy, France, Germany, UK. All of them are important, but we can create a ranking. First position, sustainability. It was already so, but it's a reconfirmation. It's very important. It was not taken for granted before COVID. Then you have a demanding consumer, a consumer that takes time for their decisions. You have a neo-pragmatic consumer, a consumer that rethinks. Then you have, in the third position, all about me, the importance of having tailor-made products, personalized products. In this trend, for example, we witness a growing importance of shortening the distance between our needs and what we purchase to maximize the benefit we draw from the product and its features when we buy. The status symbol theme loses importance in overall terms. We cannot comment all of these items, but seeking some sort of a sense of security and safety. In every research we carry out, I submitted a research on water, and we read the motivations. It was in Italian research, why people don't want to use tap water, but instead prefer mineral water. And the motivation is that we do not consider tap water to be so safe for our health. And it determines the relationship with touch points, and it pushed during the pandemic the online and touchless payments, contactless experience, and then you have frictionless living. Frictionless living is a very important need. It's a complex table, and it gives a very simple message. I do not go into statistical details at the basis of this table, and we crossed various needs to see overlapping areas. If sustainability crosses sense of well-being, it means that those two needs are coupled together in the same people.
Per tutti I bisogni siamo in grado di identificare.
For all the needs, we can identify overlapping areas. For frictionless living, it means it's a cross theme. It crosses all the other needs. It's a prerequisite of the service of a product. For some product categories, simplicity, convenience is important, but this is a cross-theme, a cross-cutting theme, and it has an impact on the choice of the channel. Yes, the channel can be strongly connected to a need of simplification, convenience, and it can push the adoption of the digital. But the importance of convenience and frictionless experience, it's one of the keywords defining the consumer, a new basic consumer that is taking shape with the war. We don't have all the analyses about our response to the war, but for example, we see that sustainability is still central despite everything. And on the other hand, there's a return to basic needs. And a pillar is represented by simplification, and then the possibility to have a host of opportunities. So simplification, convenience also means being able to choose the channel you may want to use on that specific moment. Otherwise, it's a constraint. If I replace the physical with the digital and then I can just use the digital, it's a constraint. Because you have moments and occasions when you need the physical channel. This freedom is central for the expectations of consumers. One last table, it's a general table, and many of the results of this research are connected to our thoughts. This is Durable's slide. Jump upwards during COVID in 2021. Positions have been consolidated. It didn't go back, and it's a sign that simple solutions, once they are adopted, they are hardly set aside. Contactless payments. At the beginning, there was the need not to touch money, and now people pay in a touchless mode because it's more simple. Here, the eyewear consumer landscape. Just like I told you, we don't just focus on online purchases, but we see the various steps of the purchase journey, starting from the info collection. Half of people we interviewed, 4,000 buyers in the last 12 months, buyers of eyewear in Italy, France, Germany, UK, they collected information before making the purchase. For sure, it's a product category, it's a type of product that still has a big impulse component. We can say that half collected information about eyewear. We performed various studies in the past few years showing that also in the eyewear world, the percentage of people collecting information before purchasing is increasing. When we collect information, half of people that we interviewed take 1 week or more from the moment they decide to purchase to the moment they purchase. And it's not different than the time you take to buy a TV, for example. So it's a percentage of people that take their own time. It's a big percentage. And all of this has important implications, you may imagine. in the way we can structure our relationship with our consumers and the way we can imagine our touch points. Consumers take time to collect information and partly to also listen to our storytelling, what we have to tell them, our brand purpose, the brand purpose that is at the center of what back then was a tension between value for money and awareness. At the center, you have brand purpose. And consumers also take time to understand. We said it before, it's very important for consumers. Also in the case of eyewear, it's important to have information about the performance of the product. And the online, those that purchase online, you have similar data. And it's not an impulse decision, online purchase. The time taken by online purchasers, it's the same time of those buying in stores.
This is a very important chart. It shows that consumers are clearly multi-channel in collecting information because consumers rely on physical touch points, stores, shops, but in particular they resort to digital channels. So digital channels are for sure not the only, but one of the main protagonists of our information collection journey. There are then other touch points, and you see that we do not have a clear application because we have many similar values, and this means that we collect information from multiple sources and we rely on many different touch points, 3.5 on average to buy sunglasses and 3 touch points for spectacles. First place, sales staff. Second place, products displayed in store. Digital channels are the protagonist, but we cannot do without stores, and these are 2 fundamental touch points to make a decision. And then we have brand websites in the third place. They surf our website to look for shapes, prices, etc. But this is a touch point that is becoming increasingly important, also considering the greater number of people who will enrich their collection of information pathway. And then you see that also social media are increasingly playing an important role, Amazon too. So you see that we have a very varied picture with interesting differences among the countries. If we want to summarize what you can see in this slide, we can say that France is the least digital country. Italy is strongly digital, and interestingly, when we have a look at the last mile, you will see that Italians are not digital at all. So Italians do purchase on digital channels, at least not like Germans who are very digital. So they all tend to resort to physical stores, a little bit less in the UK, where digital is very strong and physical is a bit weaker. So France in-store, Italy, Germany and UK digital, but the UK is a bit less multi-channel, is a bit more selective. And behind that, of course, the importance of the product is key for Italians. Glasses are a lifestyle product and are very important, and so they activate the highest number of touch points. They collect a lot of information and they need more time. So time is important, not only what they invest in terms of costs, but also in terms of time. Likewise, we have also a very interesting picture here. So you see that even older people tend to collect information online, and this is very important. We do not have a separation among the different age brackets. So when you design digital strategies, you should not focus on specific age brackets. You must be consistent in providing messages among the different touch points, of course, but this is clear. But we also have this situation, mature, older consumers also look online to collect information, and older users want to have a user-friendly, practical, easy website. But it's much different than the Gen Z surfing our websites, and this is important. So this was it about the collection of information. Let's now move to the drivers, and then the weight and the importance of e-commerce in this market. These are the purchase drivers. When I buy spectacles, when I buy sunglasses, first of all, I focus on look and design. So I must like them, this is clear. But quality of lenses is as important or even more important. And then weight and materials range third and fourth on the ranking. The performance of the product is key in glasses as well. Of course, I must like the glasses I'm wearing, but performance is paramount as well. Well, we could have shown this table in the very beginning when I told you about consumers looking for the product, for the features, and focusing on the benefits of the product based on his or her needs. Price is important, but doesn't range first. And well, we conducted the interviews in March, actually, when the cost of living really increased dramatically, and considering that in 2019 price ranged first, we have changed the picture dramatically. So far, consumers are not ready to give up the quality of the product for the benefit of the price. Well, of course, it depends on the purchasing power, but in terms of the narrative, this is a very important element. So this is the value, the quality of lenses, which plays the most important role for consumers, and then the size of store staff. But this is much more important for spectacles than for sunglasses, of course. And then we have the issue of brand, which is not that important. Of course, it is important, but it's not ranging among the first places in the rankings. And then, of course, we have peculiarities and specificities based on countries. There are some differences, but quality of lenses is important for all countries. Where you see the flags, this means that for those countries, in particular Germany, for instance, the performance of the product is more important. In the UK, price and friends' advice is more important, and in Italy the brand and the storytelling items are the most important elements. In France, the physical activation, the advice by store staff is the most important element, because we saw that they do not like digital channels very much. Well, this is the most important chart because it measures the rate, the penetration rate of online purchases in spectacles and sunglasses in the different markets. As already mentioned, we have a very a differentiated picture. Germany and UK are clearly digital. They play a different game, and by contrast, Italy and France are lagging behind in terms of digital penetration. But if we consider the info journey, as we saw earlier, this is interesting because Germany is the most digital channel, but it is a very multi-channeled approach. It has a very strong multi-channel approach in the info journey. Then we have the UK, which is very digital in terms of purchase, a bit less physical in collecting information. France, which is very physical throughout all the different steps. And then Italy, that looks for information online, but finalizes the purchase in the store. This is key to try and understand and map the journey that leads to the purchase of the product. In this case, age is related to the purchase path. Younger people buy offline, although they look for information online. And so as you can see, the ROPO strategy, research online, purchase offline, strategies are actually very interesting in the different countries. We could go into the detail of this chart. We could break down the online purchases to see where they bought the products. Sunglasses mostly from Amazon, and then you see from the chains, so 18% purchased online, and of these 18% bought on brand websites. Okay, so all of them. And this is a significant number, and this is a trend that we see throughout different markets, not only in eyewear. And as far as spectacles are concerned, the winner is undoubtedly the chain. But we have different pictures in different countries. Let me focus on Italy. Italy shows a slightly different behavior than other countries. Amazon is much stronger there than in the other three countries that we mapped. In Italy, Amazon is the #1 choice for buying online. It has a much higher weight than in other countries. If we now focus on the needs and expectations of the e-shoppers, let's show you an analysis mapping the drivers, the quality of the lens, the look, so all the items that we have just seen. Here you see just some of the trends that show some specificities for e-shoppers. So, for example, you see price. Those buying spectacles online, sorry, let me rephrase. The consumers who bought spectacles online give, in 8% of the cases, more importance to price. So for those, the fact of buying spectacles online is mostly driven by price. And below you see other drivers. Interestingly, drivers related to the brand and to the storytelling, for example, appeal to my beliefs and so on and so forth, are more important drivers for those buying online. And also the fact of buying newer products, trendier products, the latest products, and this brings us back to exploration. We have tried and replicated the same analysis that I showed before, past versus present. Here you see the comparison between online shoppers versus total, and you see basically the same trends. Online pushes towards exploration. And this is a statement that is partly true. It's true that those who are more exploratory tend to go online, and this is a bidirectional trend. But it's also true that those going online tend to be explorative, and so those who are not yet online will go online and will become more explorative. And then, of course, the brand, the narrative, new brands influence, and this combination of needs. But in particular, we have to mention the influencers among the drivers of purchase. Well, implicitly, because consumers tell us that they do not consider influencers. In reality, 40% of the respondents actually admit they consider influencers when buying. So if they have to answer a specific question, they actually admit that they look at influencers. But it's true, maybe these are targets with higher purchasing power, but we have a plus 9% versus 2019, and this means that we should consider influencers and study them more in detail because there is a growth. Well, it may look a bit unstable, but apart from what consumers tell us, they do play a role. And now, let's slowly come to the conclusions. And now let me show you some charts showing the reasons why they bought online. So why did you buy those glasses online? Well, price and delivery are the key parameters, price and convenience. These are the absolute winners. They reach the same value, but they rank first and second. And then you see convenience also in the following items, comfortable shopping, comparison between different offers, shopping whenever I want. But there is also, for example, the possibility of finding the right element, the right item for me. So price, convenience, and also product range within the framework of all about me rationale, the customization, the personalization, the fact of finding what I really need. And then for those buying online, we asked what should be improved. Very interesting. The first element is a tool for virtual eyewear testing, and this item ranks first. The digital solutions are playing an increasingly important role, and when such a solution becomes so important and so cross-sectorial, you must have to deal with it from a different perspective. There is a famous book exploring what happens to products when they move from the early adoption to the established phase. And this applies also to expectations. Early adopters must be attracted through wow feeling. So products must surprise, must generate wow feelings. But when it becomes a mass product, this product has to be able to fulfill basic needs. I may be an older person, I may not like digital channels, but I look for information online, and then I wanted to test whether this product fits me. Then I may go to the store to buy it, but you have to reinforce the process through this testing possibility, although price and convenience play a role. This is the same question asked to those who did not buy online. What could be improved if in the area of eyewear online shopping? And pricing is the king. That's interesting, because if pricing is the absolute winner, this means that all the other barriers do not exist. So if you're saying if it costs less, I would be ready to buy it online, this means that you do not have a barrier against the online shopping. And so digital online offers are ready to boom.
Con una delle ultime tavole prima della
One of the last few tables before a summary of the differences between the various countries. What have we done here? We have compared what was the last purchase in terms of channels and what they intend to do for the next purchase. It's interesting. It should be read with a pinch of salt. There's no explosion of the online channel. People don't say, I will go toward the online channel. The online channel is growing, but when we ask people, people tell us yes, but for good or for worse. The figures are the same as in the past, a bit below. Will it decrease? We don't know it. We don't know it. These are the intentions of the consumer expressed now. And consumers who have just bought, and perhaps they will buy eyewear in 1 year's time, 1.5 years' time. There's a significant percentage that doesn't know. And there's another theme, however. We've seen it in various spheres, in various research. The digital becomes also a problem solver. Sometimes I go to the digital channel, even if I didn't expect and envisage to go there. I have this specific need and I respond to this need going to the digital channel. And if a consumer says, I won't buy in a store, they will buy it online. And this possibility takes place when barriers of those not buying online are represented by price. So obviously this table can be interpreted as the online has grown in the past few months. It has adjusted and we will follow this direction. It may grow a little, but we do not envisage an explosion of the online. So basically, for the next few months, things will be unchanged, in continuity with the past. When we speak about the online channel, well, we have identified some needs and they are subdivided into age. We spoke about convenience and digital experience. Older people want simplicity, convenience, and so on and so forth, which is important also for the youth, of course. Younger people have more interest for experience and also gratification during the path. The digital can work also in a logic of gamification for younger people. For older people, it should respond basically to a convenience need. We have spoken about a purchase journey. Let's now consider some countries. Here you find general data and then eyewear data. Italy. Purchase intention, the sentiment is a bit higher than in the other countries considered from the COVID onwards. The Italians, apart from their purchase power, they are more willing to purchase than others. And more than the others, they want to stand out of the crowd. They devote more attention to design, fashion themes. And the journey is a multi-channel journey, much digital information collection. They want to find a tailor-made product, and they are more open in general to the brand, not just in the case of eyewear. They listen to the brand storytelling. They spend more on the average, and on the average they buy more expensive products, and such tables should be interpreted in relative terms, design trends. And what does it mean? Well, butterfly, cat eye, glass, is not the best performer. It means that in Italy it is more appealing, a bit more full frames, more cat-eye for women, and mixed materials for frames. France, craftsmanship, physical channel, being able to touch the product, that's what the French like. The sentiment is on the average, they are less digital, just like the Italians. They devote attention to the latest trends, but a bit less closer to brands. The Italians are closer to brands. And so we spoke about the physical channel, whatever is inside the store, a bit more round, a bit more metal. The Germans, their sentiment is a bit above the average, but below Italy. They say, if I find something good, I don't think about it, pragmatic. They attach less importance to aesthetics, and they say the online channel helps me save money, but also time more than money. It's quick, that's why I like it. Just like we saw, they have a propensity for the digital channel, and the last mile is highly digital. Less full frames, more plastics. The English, price is important for the English. Their sentiment is the worst. And many of the things we have talked about can be laid back to the sentiment indicator. When the sentiment is higher, consumers listen more to brands, they collect more information. It's the typical characteristics of the Italians, more than the English. For the English, we said, digital, digital, digital. Made in doesn't count so much. When you make a ranking of influencers, YouTubers, it's not the third position, but compared to other countries, singers are more important. Singers as influencers for eyewear. When we speak about design, you have differences between sunglasses, eyeglasses, aviator sunglasses, and wayfarer and classics for eyewear. Eyeglasses. And I'd like to end with this table, and it's the same data, and it shows the strength of the online channel, e-shoppers, penetration of e-shoppers in the various countries, and there's a mix between physical and digital channel, and it is subdivided into countries. It's a spirit of the time. It's an evolution of consumers. On the left-hand side, there's a growing awareness in consumers' purchase journey. Digital touch points are more and more crucial. But just like we said, as an enrichment, as an additional option for the physical channel. Otherwise, it is experienced as a constraint. And then keywords are for the online convenience and pricing. And then product range. But the first two are these. Thank you so much.
Non ho una regia che mi guida, ma immagino che...
There's no moderator, but I imagine that if somebody has got questions or reflections to make, I believe that we have 5 minutes. Otherwise, I thank you so much. Or also reflections. Otherwise, thank you so much. Goodbye.